This woman's name was Unwanted, a skilled hacker. 5 years ago, she was framed by her adopted younger sister. On the night of her engagement, a stranger was forced into her room and he violated her. That man hid in the endless darkness, his eyes roaming over her body with near-greedy hunger, sweeping across every inch of her skin. He bit, ravaged, and tore her apart, leaving her reputation in ruins. Afterward, Njiojo sought help from her fiancé, Shin Kwan, only to be met with cold abandonment. From then on, she carried her pregnancy while desperately searching for that man. But a car accident sent her to the hospital where she gave birth to a boy. What she never knew was that she had been carrying twins. The other boy was secretly taken away by the man's butler. 5 years later, she was now plotting with her son, planning how to steal the Aurora gem at tonight's auction. It was a treasure left behind by the boy's grandmother. The boy had long been ready, thinking this treasure heist would be an exciting game. The woman praised him with a smile, as expected of my son. She reminded him, stick to the plan when the time comes. Clang. A faint sound rang out inside the hall. The host announced, "Thank you, honored guests, for attending the jewelry auction held by the G Corporation. The event is now reaching its finale. And now, please welcome tonight's final highlight, the Aurora gem." Seeing this, Njiojo knew the moment had come. She signaled her son waiting in the power room to pull the switch. Suddenly, the entire venue went dark. Staff hurried to calm the crowd. "Please remain seated. The backup generator will start soon." But within a single minute, the Aurora gem vanished from its display case. Only then did the crowd realize what had happened, and the police were called at once. The culprit was this woman. She toyed with the Aurora gem while speaking into her Bluetooth, instructing her son, "Sweetheart, you did great. Do you know what to do next?" The boy replied, "Walk straight out through the hall, don't be scared. Wait for mommy on the scooter. If I can't get out, I'll say I'm lost. Let the security guard take Pudding to the police, and then wait for mommy to pick me up." Pudding was still overjoyed. He never expected the heist to be this easy. He was eager to reunite with his mother, until a shadow suddenly blocked his path. A man asked, "What are you doing in the power room?" Pudding shuddered in fright. "This is bad. I've been caught." He turned around in shock, only to find the man looked almost identical to him. At that moment, the manager rushed over, panting, "Finally, we found you, young master. President G has been looking everywhere for you. If we couldn't find you, he was ready to tear this hotel apart. My job would have been finished. Please come back with President G right away." Pudding pointed at himself, his face full of disbelief. I'm the young master?" The man reached out his hand and said, "Oh, come here." At that moment, Pudding muttered in his heart, "My name is Pudding, not U. And what, I'm supposed to come just because you call me? I'm not a puppy." Still, he forced a sly little smile and chirped, "Daddy." Then, slipping fully into character, he added, "Daddy, I didn't mean to shut off the power. Please don't be mad. I was wrong." Inside, though, he was thinking, Mommy always said when things get tough, stick with the biggest player in the room. This powerful-looking uncle even mistook me for his own son. I'd better play along. The manager finally breathed a sigh of relief. At least his job was safe for now. Soon after, President G carried Pudding away. Just as they reached the door, a staff member rushed up. "President G, bad news. The Aurora gem for auction is missing." President G fell silent, his eyes turning sharp and icy. Meanwhile, on the rooftop ventilation ducts, a shadowy figure appeared. It was Njiojo, basking in victory. She had already hacked into the mall's surveillance system, confident they would never trace it back to her. Just as she was about to slip away, a voice called out to her. Her heart sank. Damn, I've been spotted. Standing before her was a boy who looked shockingly similar to Pudding. For a split second, Njiojo thought it was him, but then wondered why he hadn't followed the plan. She flared up instantly, grabbing his face. "You brat, what the hell? I'm your mommy. How are you popping up everywhere? Weren't you supposed to be in the power room?" While locking the hatch, Njiojo scolded on, "Didn't I tell you to leave through the main door? What, worried about mommy? Your darling mommy is brilliant and unbeatable. How could anything happen to me? And what if you slipped and fell while sneaking here?" Bo studied the woman before him. Mommy? Could she be the woman grandma arranged for daddy? To him, she looked exactly like the kind of woman who, after stumbling into a stranger's room one night, getting abandoned and shaming her family, would return years later with deadly skills, ready for revenge, finally winning it all. Love, career, and even kids. Aoyao's gaze deepened. Asterisk, grandma sure has unique taste, but she's not taking the fall for this one. Just then, the distant wail of police sirens pierced the night. Orders rang out, check the power room. You three, search the ventilation ducts. Seeing this, and Giorgio cursed under her breath. Not good, the police are here. She didn't dare hesitate any longer. Grabbing O, she planted a fierce kiss on him. Then she strapped him to herself, yanked the cable, and with a sharp whoosh, the two of them shot toward the opposite building. In Giorgio's arms, Aoyao's face turned crimson. This woman actually kissed me? Outrageous. But strangely enough, it doesn't feel bad. What Giorgio hadn't accounted for was Pudding. The rope was now carrying too much weight. A few seconds later, snap. The cable broke. Both of them plunged straight toward the rooftop of the opposite tower. Aoyao's mind raced. Asterisk, judging by gravity and the impact angle, my chances of injury are 100%. If a fully able-bodied officer ran here at 4 meters per second, he could arrive in 2 minutes. And the odds of this woman calling me an ambulance are practically zero. But Giorgio shielded Aoyao with her own body, smashing through the glass. She crashed to the ground, her knees bruised black and blue. Wo shouted in disbelief, "Hey, are you okay?" Giorgio turned her head toward him and whispered, "Mommy's fine. Don't worry, Pudding baby. Mommy just needs a moment to rest." Wo quickly checked the woman's body. A serious impact like that could cause spinal injuries, even damage internal organs. He snapped, "Do you think I'm just a kid you can fool? People should know their limits. If you don't have the skill, don't do something this dangerous." Being lectured, Giorgio thought bitterly, asterisk, since when did kids get this sharp? Forcing herself to stand despite the pain, Giorgio insisted calmly, "Mommy's really fine." Wo studied the woman before him, so clumsy. If she ever found out her real child was missing, who knows what she'd do. For now, he decided he'd pretend to be her son. So Ao hooked his pinky around Giorgio's and tugged gently, saying, "Let's go home." Meanwhile, inside the villa, little Pudding was wolfing down delicacies he had never tasted before. Yet even as he ate, he made sure to save some to bring back for Mommy. Watching him, Ji Jincheng spoke evenly, "If you like it, the kitchen will prepare it for you every day." At that moment, Assistant Chin stepped forward to report, "President Ji, the surveillance at the auction site was hacked, including the security system. It looks like the work of a real expert. So far we can't break it." Ji Jincheng's thick brows furrowed slightly, his emotionless gaze settling on Chin. "So you're saying you don't even know if it was a man or a woman?" In his deep, dark eyes, a dangerous glint appeared. "Just good. It's been a long time since anyone dared make a move against me." Pudding smirked to himself. With Mommy this powerful, there's no way they'll ever find her. I need to figure out how to slip away and meet up with Mommy as soon as possible." Still, the man in front of him, president of Dingfeng International, the one who held Jiangqing's economy in his grasp, was a billionaire, a master of business and boardrooms, and the dream of countless women. Such an outstanding man. I should just drag him back and make him Mommy's husband. Meanwhile, Ji Jincheng was showering in the bathroom, his mind turning. The Aurora gem, and a hacker who left no trace. What could tie the two together? The Aurora was something I stumbled upon. Should I start by investigating its origins? Returning to his room, Ji Jincheng's eyes narrowed as he spotted Aoyao inside. Strange. This child never came into his bedroom on his own, much less looked through his personal belongings. What was going on today? But Pudding was absorbed in the stock charts on the monitor, oblivious to Ji Jincheng behind him. He chuckled inwardly, "Hee, the stock looks great. Now that I found Mommy a husband, I need to stack up money for her too. Can't miss out on what's in the pot or on the plate." Ji Jincheng stepped up behind him and asked, "Well, what are you doing?" Startled, Pudding curled into a ball and stammered, "I'm helping Daddy check the stocks." Suddenly, Ji Jincheng grabbed Pudding and asked, "You don't actually understand stocks, do you?" Sweat rolled down Pudding's face as he stammered nervously, "I just got really interested recently. Kids don't know, so we have to learn, right?" Ji Jincheng's sharp gaze lingered on the boy's seemingly excited little face, cutting like a blade. Then he tossed Pudding out the door. Enough. Go to bed. Pudding's heart pounded in his chest. That was close, way too close. I almost got exposed. He slunk away, determined to hurry back to Mommy's side. Inside the room, Ji Juncheng made a call. Xiaochen, book a paternity test for tomorrow. Also, run through the surveillance again. Focus on every place Oyo has been. Send more men to the auction site as well. Hanging up, Ji Juncheng rubbed at the corner of his eye. Am I just too exhausted lately? To the point I can't even recognize my own son? Meanwhile, in a tiny rented apartment in Jiuzhou, her eyesight not much better, was struggling to drag a huge bag of groceries through the door. She called back to the little one shuffling in behind her. Pudding baby, go watch TV first. Mommy's going to cook you a feast. And so, the little crown prince reluctantly shuffled into the shabby apartment, sitting prim and proper on the sofa. And Jiuzhou glanced at his flashy outfit, something about it feeling off. A flicker of doubt crossed her eyes. The boy was dressed in a top-tier limited edition suit, with handcrafted Italian calfskin shoes on his feet. She couldn't help but ask, Pudding, why did you change your clothes? Bo squinted and replied, another kid at the auction gave them to me. Don't you think it's a bit late to be asking now? If I'd been swapped out, you probably wouldn't even notice. And Jiuzhou was speechless. Well, he's not wrong. My Pudding's unbeatable little cherub face is one of a kind. If someone swapped him, I'd recognize it instantly. She quickly played dumb and dashed toward the kitchen. I didn't notice your clothes because Mommy's eyes were all on you, sweetheart. Now sit tight. Mommy's cooking you a feast. Bo looked around the rental apartment with a sigh. It was small and old, and everything inside was a mess. A few minutes later, and Jiuzhou came out carrying 2 bowls of noodles. Seeing O sighing, she asked, What's wrong, sweetheart? Why do you keep sighing? Bo answered bluntly, So, our family really is this poor. Hearing that single word from Aoao, poor, and Jiuzhou's defenses crumbled. It landed like a stone on her chest, leaving her breathless. The silence that followed was unbearable. Finally, Jiuzhou forced a smile. Sweetheart, let's just eat the noodles first. On the table, the noodles steamed, topped with nothing more than a single egg. Yo stared at the bowl. So, this is what you call a feast. The words poor and pressure pressed down on her. Was this really the reality of a modern single mom? Just then, the TV blared with breaking news. Today, a major theft occurred in our city. The Aurora gem vanished in front of a live audience. Aoyao's eyes flicked from the broadcast to the glowing jewel on the table. Isn't that the Aurora? His mind spun. Poor I could accept, but a thief? And that was Daddy's very first item put up for auction. Now that it's been stolen, he must be furious. Which means, Bo glared at Jiuzhou and declared, Woman, you're dead. Furious, Jiuzhou shoved the egg into his mouth. Brat, have you been sneaking peeks at my CO romance comics again? Eat your food. While piling vegetables into his bowl, she kept nagging. A good kid shouldn't act like some cold-faced tea. No future in that. Now open wide. Just as the vegetables were about to reach his mouth, Bo quickly raised a hand. Wait, But his stomach answered first with a loud grumble, grumble. Moments later, he was parked on the toilet. Proof of the fragile stomach that came with being a pampered young master. From there, O barked in a baby-fierce tone, Woman, you're dead. And Jiuzhou's noodles were simply unbearable for him, and in the end he chose to eat out. She asked, Pudding, what do you want to eat? How about Mommy buys you your favorite fried chicken? Ko shot back coldly. After diarrhea, greasy food is forbidden. The diet should be light and plain. And Jiuzhou looked embarrassed. Some mother, I am not even careful enough. Fine, then we'll have plain porridge. Po sighed inwardly. So this is the life that other boy had been living? You really had it tough. And Jiuzhou then remembered a porridge shop in the mall that was quite good. Her friend Lu Pei happened to work at a jewelry counter there. She'd been there a few times before, so she thought, since it was nearby, she'd stop in and see her. But before reaching the shop, she saw from afar that a crowd had already gathered outside. As she looked closer, she recognized Bai Xinrong and Shen Quan. Bai Xinrong was berating Lu Pei. Seriously? You'll hire just anyone? All this for a commission. Don't you even care about your dignity? She never expected such cruel words. Memories surged in Jiuzhou's mind. Truly, enemies meet on a narrow road. 5 years ago, her mother had kindly taken in Bai Xinrong and her mother, Zhao Mei. But that mother-daughter pair repaid kindness with betrayal. Zhao Mei seduced her father Bai Yongqiang and ultimately caused her mother's death. Bai Xinrong meanwhile framed her, trapping her with a stranger on her engagement night, destroying her reputation. Later Bai Xinrong even hooked up with her fiancé Shen Quan. Po noticed how Enjujio suddenly grew serious. He guessed the salesgirl must be her friend, while the troublemaker clearly had some dark history with her. Po tugged gently at Enjujio's hand and quietly asked if she was okay. Enjujio crouched down, stroking his head softly. Mommy's fine. But in her heart, her resolve only hardened. She was no longer the helpless girl from 5 years ago. Standing in the crowd, she pieced the situation together. Bai Xinrong had fancied an expensive jade bracelet. When she tried it on, she broke it but refused to take responsibility, claiming the salesgirl's nail scratched her, making her flinch and drop it. Yet Lu Pei explained that the surveillance clearly showed she had never even touched Bai Xinrong, let alone scratched her. It was obvious Bai Xinrong broke it herself, so she should pay for the damage. The onlookers began whispering, "Wow, first time I've seen someone smash a store item and still demand compensation." But judging from what the clerk said, plus that woman's aggressive attitude, doesn't this reek of a scam? Bai Xinrong's rage spiked, her temper boiling over. She snapped at Lu Pei, storming forward. "Lu Pei, right? I don't have time for your nonsense. Where's your manager? I'll make sure you get reported today." Just then, a hand clamped tightly around Bai Xinrong's wrist. She spun around and cursed, "Who the hell dares stick their nose into this?" A cold, cutting voice rang out. "Enjujio's, years have passed, Miss Bai, but your shamelessness has only grown thicker." Bai Xinrong froze mid-rant, eyes widening as she saw Enjujio standing tall in the crowd. Panic shot across her face, her mind reeling. Impossible. 5 years ago I ran her down myself. How could she be here? Enjujio's gaze was sharp as a blade. "Don't be surprised. I came back for one reason, to drag you into hell, my dear sister." With that, she flung Bai Xinrong's hand away in disgust. "Filthy." She then strode over to Lu Pei's side, offering her comfort. Meanwhile, Shen Quan, standing beside Bai Xinrong, caught sight of Enjujio. Shock flashed across his face, quickly replaced by joy. He hurried forward, blurting out, "Jujio? It's really you. You've come back? This is wonderful." But Enjujio only met his gaze with icy indifference. "Sorry, we don't know each other." Shen Quan tried to say something, but Bai Xinrong yanked him back. She snapped, "Shen Quan, don't forget, you're my fiancé now, not hers." Then she sneered, "Ha? You, a woman who slept around, got pregnant and was kicked out by your own father. What right do you have to speak here? And look at you hanging around with that clerk Lu Pei. Birds of a feather, both trash." The bystanders, clueless about the truth, quickly turned against Enjujio. Slept around? No way. She looks so pure and innocent, but to do something that shameless? Typical gold digger teaming up with the clerk to scam people. Lu Pei burst out angrily, "Bastards. How can you say that?" Every cruel word stabbed into Enjujio's heart. Her hands clenched tight at her sides, a dangerous shadow flickering across her face. Just then, thud. A jewelry box smashed down on Bai Xinrong's foot. Out popped a top-grade jade bracelet, shattering on the floor into 8 sharp pieces. "Ah!" Bai Xinrong shrieked, clutching her foot and hunching over, her face twisted in pain, all her arrogance gone in an instant. Ryo's little face was icy cold. It was he who had hurled the box. Enjujio froze in shock. That box, was it putting who through it? Ryo's obsidian eyes locked onto Bai Xinrong as he spat. "You think you can bully my mommy?" Bai Xinrong's face twisted with malice as she raised her hand to strike Ryo. Where did this bastard come from? No manners at all. Smack. The slap landed before she could touch him, and Giorgio's strike was sharp and merciless. She could endure being insulted herself, but anyone laying a hand on her son? Never. Her expression turned fierce, eyes blazing as if she could devour her opponent. "Discipline my son? You not qualified." Inside, Giorgio sneered. "So Bai Xinrong wants to use public opinion? Two can play at that game." Her eyes quickly welled with tears as she stroked Aoyo's head. Her voice softened, trembling with grief and despair, like a mother hen shielding her chick. "Yes, I'm a single mom. His father died in a car accident. But as an adult, shouldn't you show some decency? Do we deserve to be cursed just for surviving? Do you think we wouldn't give anything to have him back? Her performance was flawless. If not for the sly glint caught in her eyes, even he would have believed it. Bai Xinrong clutched her stinging cheek, sputtering, "Hey, why are you crying? If I'm not mistaken, weren't you the one who just slapped me? And hard too." The crowd gasped. A single mother? Suddenly the perspective shifted. Before them stood a fragile mother and child, pitiful and defenseless, while Bai Xinrong looked vicious and overbearing. The bystanders wavered, then turned completely, swaying like grass in the wind. Fingers pointed at Bai Xinrong. "That woman is vicious. How could she say that to a mother and her child?" The wave of judgment grew louder. "I've never seen anyone so shameless." And Jiujio's lips curled in triumph. "Bai Xinrong, when you used public opinion to crush me years ago, did you ever imagine this day would come? Don't be too arrogant. Karma always strikes back." Bo chimed in with a sharp nod. "Yeah, loser." Bai Xinrong barked furiously, "It's just a jade bracelet worth 200,000. But you'll pay too. Your son smashed a bracelet in front of everyone. Don't think you can dump that on me." She rushed over to the manager, shouting, "How much is hers?" And Jiujio only gave a faint, mocking laugh. "Of course I'll pay for what my son broke. I'm not like some people." The manager's eyes gleamed as he replied sweetly, 3 million. The staggering figure made Jiujio's voice tremble with shock. The manager stepped forward, waving the POS machine. 3 million, ma'am. Will that be WeChat Pay, Debt Pay, or swipe your card? We support them all." Faced with the astronomical sum, Jiujio froze, panic rising in her heart. "My God, is it too late to run?" Just then, a small but steady voice cut through the tension. Aoyo's obsidian eyes glinted as he pulled out an unlimited black card. "It's only 3 million. Go ahead, swipe it." The moment the card appeared, the clerk in Lu Pei gasped, eyes wide. "Oh my God. That's the ultimate black card, no limit." Bai Xinrong's eyes burned scarlet with jealousy. In her world, Jiujio was supposed to be trampled beneath her feet, living worse than a dog. How could that penniless woman from 5 years ago possibly hold a card like this? Bo straightened his posture, his delicate features radiating pride as he declared, "Forget it, you'll never figure it out. After all, you're just a brainless woman who screams and schemes, only to bury yourself in disgrace, ruined and crawling on the streets." Hearing his razor-sharp words, Jiujio nearly choked on her own saliva. Bai Xinrong's face twisted hideously. Watching the scene, Jiujio thought, this kid's sharp tongue really is a double-edged sword. But her eyes narrowed as her thoughts shifted. This isn't the time to dwell on that. That black card in his hand. Bo noticed her pondering and smirked inwardly. Has she finally started to suspect my true identity? To his surprise, Jiujio leaned in close to his ear and whispered, "And Yen, tell me honestly, did you steal that card?" Bo was dumbfounded. Is her IQ even online? How can this woman be so dense? Still, he mused, father must have figured things out by now. On the other side, Ji Jincheng, ever since the incident where Pudding snuck into his room, had already grown suspicious, and quietly ordered a paternity test. Now he instructed assistant Qin to keep watch by the window. 6 hours later, Qin was still crouching there, his legs numb. "President Ji, I really don't think the young master is coming. After standing here for 6 hours, I feel like some creepy peeping Tom." Elsewhere, Ji Jincheng spoke into his earpiece, his voice cold. "No. He'll show up." Sure enough, Pudding's little head peeked out from the corner. He smirked to himself. "Hee, no one's home. Perfect time to make my move." He dashed excitedly to the tablet. "Here I come, my fiery little stalks." But every move he made was already under surveillance. Oblivious, Pudding happily typed in Mommy's card number on the screen. Ding. Transaction complete. Seeing his success, Pudding practically bounced with joy. Meanwhile, Ji Jincheng gave the order. "Move in." Several figures emerged from different corners of the room, catching Pudding red-handed. Ji Jincheng's gaze was sharp as ice. "You actually sold off 500 million worth of my stocks. Quite the little monster, aren't you?" His expression darkened as he ruffled the boy's hair. "The recipient's name isn't Jiujio, right? Let's invite her over, as our guest." Faced with Jiujio's slow-witted reaction, Oyo could only spin a lie. That card? I just picked it up at the auction. Jiujio stared at the black card in her hand, sweat beading on her forehead that if those wealthy big shots from the auction trace this back and demand repayment, even if I sold everything I own, I could never cover it. Meanwhile, Oyo was completely absorbed in Pudding's comic, "Mr. Seo, you're so bad," reading with suspicious enthusiasm. A mischievous glint flickered in Jiujio's eyes. "Say, hacker, maybe I could just wipe the system clean." But Oyo looked up, his tone calm and cutting. "I think you're challenging the dignity of the LAW.in this country. Tampering with an information system can land you in prison, you know." Just then her phone rang. The caller ID flashed. By Yongqiang, his voice came through the line. "Jiujio, is it really you? I'm your father. You've been gone 5 years without a word. I've been so worried." By Yongqiang, Jiujio's sanctimonious father. She never bore his surname. Instead, she carried her mother's. Back then, her mother and Lee had bent to him in everything, except for the family name, which she insisted her daughter keep. Cold thoughts churned in Jiujio's mind. When my mother was murdered, you didn't care. When I was nearly killed, you didn't care. And now you call pretending concern. 5 years don't grow a conscience on scum like you. Impossible. A cold laugh escaped her lips. She had no intention of humoring him. "What do you want?" Bai Yongqiang hadn't expected in Jiujio's cold tone that he forced a smile and said, "Yes, come home tomorrow. It happens to be your Aunt May's birthday. We're holding a banquet. I'm just a man. I don't know what women like. Why don't you help your father pick out a gift for her?" His words sounded more like an order than a request. Jiujio gripped the phone tightly, her knuckles whitening. "These people took everything from my mother, drove me to the brink of death, and now they flaunt the stolen spoils. And they dare ask me to witness it." Her voice was calm, but her eyes were glacial. "Fine. Then I'll make sure to bring a very special gift." After hanging up, Zhao Mei immediately asked, "Well, did she agree to come?" Bai Yongqiang smirked with pride. "Of course that I'm still her father. That if I ask, how could she dare refuse?" Zhao Mei, Bai Xinrong's mother, grinned greedily. "Xinrong said she's holding a top-tier black card. That if she's that rich, it's only right she honors you with some of it. Don't worry. Even if we have to tie her down tomorrow, we'll make sure she hands the money over." The next day at Yanhai Grand Hotel, Jiujio arrived with steady steps, her presence radiant like gold. At her side was Oeo, dressed in a tailored suit, his delicate features highlighted by a pair of striking blue-green gemstone eyes. Approaching them were the ever-hypocritical pair, Bai Xinrong and Shen Quan. Bai Xinrong put on her sweetest smile. "Oh, sister, you're here. So what gift did you bring for mother?" But behind her sugary words was venomous scorn. "Since you've still got some money, I'll let it slide for now." Jiujio ignored Bai Xinrong completely and walked past them. As she passed, she snapped coldly, "Spare the sister act, it's nauseating. As for the gift, don't worry that you'll find out." The banquet opened. Bai Yongqiang, flushed with pride, climbed the stage and spoke warmly, "Welcome everyone to my wife Zhao Mei's birthday banquet. First, I'd like to express my heartfelt thanks for your presence." He beamed with forced cheer. At that moment, a figure approached Jiujio. "Jiujio, can we talk?" It was Shen Quan. He stepped forward, voice urgent. "Jiujio, I know you hate me, but I've regretted that incident ever since. That I've been thinking about you constantly. Even if you're no longer a virgin and you have a child, I wouldn't abandon you. Come back to me." Jiujio raised an eyebrow and met him squarely. "Come back to you? What about Bai Xinrong? I was blind before. How could I have ever liked a dog of a man like you?" Shen Quan grew more agitated. "It was just a fling with her. Touching her now feels like touching myself. There's no real feeling. That if you come back, I'll buy you a place of your own. East side, west side, we'll live apart." Jiujio was speechless. What kind of twisted logic is that? Keeping her as a kept woman? Before she could reply, O stepped forward, eyes fierce. "You dare snatch my woman? Do you even deserve that?" Shen Quan found himself unnerved, intimidated even, by the sheer presence of the kid. Then the real show began. Everyone turned to the giant screen above the stage, gasping, "What the hell is that?" The congratulatory video had been replaced. Instead, an obscene clip, completely unfiltered and utterly inappropriate for children, flickered across the banquet screen for all to see. The crowd stared in disbelief. The woman on screen looked unmistakably like Bai Xinrong, and beside her was none other than Zhao Mei. A figure everyone treated like some untouchable matriarch. The hall erupted in shock. Bai Yongqiang, still on stage, went pale as the image played. Bai Xinrong covered her head, panic on her face, while Zhao Mei stammered, "Please. No, strong. Let me explain." Murmurs swelled into mockery. So this is what the mother-daughter pair are like. Poor Mr. Bai. Well, serves him right for abandoning his first wife and marrying the mistress. People laughed and pointed. The spectacle felt equal parts absurd and scornful. And Jojo smiled, savoring the moment. So this is the pure image Mr. Shen prefers, she mused tauntingly. That cake color would really cool you down, so on brand. Want a taste? Shen Quan's face contorted as if he'd been publicly cuckolded, rage exploding from him. Bai Xinrong, he bellowed. Bai Xinrong, thrown into chaos, protested frantically. No, I didn't. Shen Quan, you have to believe me. Bai Xinrong's eyes locked onto Jiujing. She lunged like a madwoman, raising her hand and shouting, "It was you! Jiujing, I'll kill you!" Jiujing's face darkened. She had been ready for this. With a swift motion, she caught Bai Xinrong's wrist mid-swing. Her voice dropped coldly. "Kill me? Bai Xinrong, I survived 5 years ago. You'll never get a second chance." Smack. Jiujing's hand whipped across her face, sharp and merciless. Zhao Mei, seeing her daughter struck, rushed forward with her hair in disarray, her expression twisted beyond recognition. She screamed, "Jiujing, how vicious can you be? You came back just to frame us. Back then you were pregnant and didn't even know who the father was. Your own father wanted to kill you and I was the one who begged him to spare you. And now you dare drag this bastard child back here." A chilling voice suddenly cut through the hall. "Who said my son is a bastard?" The icy tones swept across the ballroom, striking fear into everyone present. Ji Jinshan's gaze was cold as steel. "My son, a bastard? Sounds like you've grown tired of living." Bai Xinrong, instead of trembling, gasped in infatuation. "Wow, he's so handsome." Zhao Mei, however, turned deathly pale, realizing she was doomed. Ji Jinshan's eyes shifted toward Jiujing. His command was low and firm. "Come here." Hiding behind Jiujing, little Aoao clutched her dress tightly and whispered, "Daddy?" But Jiujing immediately snapped back, sounding righteous. "Brat, stop spouting nonsense." She pinched Aoao's cheeks and scolded, "Your daddy got hit by a car, his head went boom. How could he possibly still be alive?" Both Ji Jinshan and Aoao stared at her speechlessly, thinking the same thing. This woman is beyond saving. Bai Xinrong sneered, shouting, "A bastard like you even has a father. I clearly remember 5 years ago your mom Jiujing was thrown out while pregnant and couldn't even name the man, and now you dare slander President Ji?" Deep inside she was plotting. Compared to Ji Jinshan, Shen Quan is nothing. I must find a way to marry Ji Jinshan instead. White Yongqiang quickly realized who had arrived. He hurried forward, bowing and scraping, his smile plastered on. "Yes, yes. President Ji, don't let this unfilial daughter offend your eyes." He gestured respectfully. "Since you've honored us with your presence, shall we speak upstairs?" Aoao watched silently and muttered in his mind, "Like father, like daughter. Both with IQs scraping the ocean floor. Daddy must be on the verge of killing someone right now." Ji Jinshan's eyes swept coldly over White Yongqiang. His tone dropped like ice. "Is that so? Bastard? Unfilial?" His presence was domineering, his lips curling as he declared, "Do you know, she's my woman?" The entire crowd exploded in shock. Holy crap, what's going on? This family drama is way better than that sleazy video earlier. Totally worth showing up today. Jiujing felt like a bomb had gone off in her head, leaving her dizzy. What the hell? Is Ji Jinshan insane? We've barely even met and now I'm suddenly his woman? Watching Bai Xinrong and Zhao Mei trembling like leaves, Jiujing thought, if I can use this chance to strike back, it's not a bad deal. She threw herself into character, clinging to Ji Jinshan's arm. Tears welled up, her cheeks flushed, and she whispered weakly, "Darling, they bullied not only me but also our son. What are you going to do about it?" Inside though, she was panicking. If he denies me right here, I'll be the biggest fool on the planet. Ji Jinshan's dark gaze slid across her face, finding the whole act amusing. Then with a sudden pull, he wrapped her into his arms. His domineering aura surged as he ordered coldly, "Remember every one of those mutts who dared to bite." White Yongqiang, Bai Xinrong, and Zhao Mei instantly broke into cold sweat, faces pale as chalk. Still holding Jiujing close, Ji Jinshin turned his back on them and commanded, "Clear the place. Lock the doors. Beat the dogs." His bodyguards rolled up their sleeves and tightened their fists, dishing out what could only be called the president's version of tough love. Once outside the hotel, and Jiujing glanced over. The man was striding forward, holding Ao's hand, his tall, imposing figure cut through the chaos like a monarch surveying his realm. Untouched by dust, untouched by scandal. She frowned and rushed after him. "Hey Ji Jinshin, where are you taking my son?" Just then, a voice cried out from a nearby car. "Mommy! Mommy, I'm here." Startled, and Jiujing looked up in the window of a black Bentley not far away. Little Pudding was pressed against the glass, bawling his eyes out. His chubby cheeks were squished flat against the pane, tiny fingers clawing desperately as if he could scratch his way out. Her gaze snapped back to Ao at Ji Jinshin's side. The mischievous one who looked exactly the same. Diane. Jiujing froze, horrified. "Wait. Did someone clone my son?" Inside the car, Little Pudding shouted at the top of his lungs. "Mommy, you idiot, I'm your real son. Pudding calling frying pan, Pudding calling frying pan." He pounded his tiny fists against the window with all his might. The moment Jiujing heard frying pan, she froze. That was their secret code word, something only she and her son shared. There was no doubt now. The boy in the car was her real Pudding. In the next heartbeat, mother and son were finally reunited. They clung to each other desperately. Meanwhile, Ao locked eyes with Ji Jinshin. The thought that crossed both their minds was mutual. Forget it. We'll never get along. Two domineering males could never coexist peacefully. Still reeling, and Jiujing asked in confusion, "So, what's going on here? Did we really swap children?" Ji Jinshin shot her a cold look, silently questioning her intelligence. Without wasting words, he pulled out a document and handed it over. "This is the paternity test between me and Pudding." Her hands trembled as she opened it, eyes going wide. 99%. The test confirmed their biological relationship beyond doubt. With Ji Jinshin's power and status, there was no reason for him to fake it. Which meant, Pudding really was his son. And that meant, the man from 5 years ago. And Jiujing's breath caught, fragments of that night crashing back into her memory. The scorching breath at her ear. Her frantic attempts to escape, only to be dragged back by the ankle again and again, swallowed by darkness like sinking into a swamp. Until she could no longer resist, until she completely surrendered. Ji Jinshin noticed the change in her expression. His brows furrowed as he asked in a low voice, "And Jiujing, what's wrong with you?" Ji Jinshin's voice snapped and Jiujing back to reality. Her head jerked up. 5 years ago, the man from that night was actually Ji Jinshin, but Bai Xinrong had sworn it was some old man. Why had it turned out to be him? Her mind felt like it was about to explode. Ji Jinshin clearly seemed unaware of her existence. So what exactly happened 5 years ago? She remembered giving birth to only one child. Where had the other one come from? Confusion and fear flickered across her face. Sensing something was wrong, both boys rushed over. "Mommy, what's wrong? Don't scare Pudding." Little Ao added anxiously, "Hey, are you okay?" And Jiujing forced her emotions under control and soothed them softly. "Mommy's fine." Ji Jinshin never looked away, studying her every shift in expression. At last, he reached out his hand, his voice calm yet mercilessly cold. "Missin, since you've calmed down, name your price. How much will it take for you to let Pudding stay with the Ji family?" And Jiujing froze. Then her eyes hardened like steel. "So Mr. Ji, you're trying to buy my son?" She spun on her heel, voice sharp with defiance. "No matter what you offer, I'll never agree. Goodbye." Back then, she had survived only to protect the child in her belly. Pudding was her sole hope. She would never let anyone take him away. But Ji Jinshin's words stopped her cold. "Don't you want to know the truth about what happened 5 years ago?" He raised a hand, covering half his face, his tone chilling. "The truth is, that night I was under the influence of drugs. I was completely out of control. I didn't even know who the woman in that room was." His gaze darkened as he continued. "And as for Ao, one day my butler suddenly brought him home. Back then, the butler said all he received was a paternity test, and the news that the child's mother had died in labor. Nothing else. Until I met you, until I saw Pudding, that gave me the chance to reopen the past." Ji Jinshin's gaze turned icy. "Besides, I will never allow my son to wander outside unclaimed." And Jiujing's expression darkened. She whipped her head around and shouted, Yes, I want to know the truth from 5 years ago. But if the price is pudding, then I'd rather never know. Ji Jinshin's eyes locked on hers, voice cold and domineering. Missin, the things I want, I always get. No matter the method. Do you understand? Pudding instantly jabbed a finger at him, yelling, Bad guy. If you dare bully my mommy, I'll tear down your house and dump all your stocks. Got it? Ji Jinshin sighed inwardly, helpless that if this keeps up, I'll end up losing both wife and son before I even have them. Just then Ao stepped in smartly, tugging on Jiujing's sleeve. In a trembling, pitiful little voice he asked, Mommy, don't you want me anymore? Jiujing's fingers trembled. A wave of sour ache filled her chest, blurring her eyes with tears. Seizing the moment, Ao pressed on, his soft voice pleading, I'm obedient, easy to raise. If you don't want to keep only my brother, could you keep me too? Maternal instinct surged uncontrollably. There was no way she could resist. Ji Jinshin watched the scene intently, his gaze darkening as he propped his chin with one hand. Keeping them both wouldn't be so bad. The question is, how do I make her agree? Jiujing gritted her teeth, leaned down and gently cupped Ao's little face. So your name is Ao, right? Listen, with your father, you'll have the best life. I don't have that kind of money. Staying with me would only mean suffering. Before she could finish, Pudding jumped in, shattering the mood. Mommy, don't be sad. You've got 5 billion now. Raising both of us is no problem at all. Jiujing froze, eyes wide. F5 billion. What do you mean by that? Ji Jinshin seized the opening, pulling out a receipt so long it nearly rolled onto the floor. Missin, I forgot to mention. This is the bill for Pudding's expenses over the past few days at my place. And, he continued smoothly, he also sold off one of my better stocks. That's a neat 5 billion. Add in the extras. And it's not much. Just 731.37 million left for you to repay. His eyes glinted dangerously, that faint curve of his lips twisting his cold face into something wickedly charming. The number hit Jiujing like a bomb. 700 million. She felt like she'd just died on the spot. Where on earth was she supposed to find that kind of money? Ji Jinshin folded away the bill, gaze sharp as a blade. But Pudding is also my son. If Missin is willing to move into the Ji estate with both children, then we can wipe the slate clean. Those words jolted Jiujing back to life. She practically bounced like a giddy kid. Are you serious? You really mean that? Without missing a beat, she waved Pudding over with delight. Come on, let's go. Time to eat rich, courtesy of the Ji family. Ao could only sigh helplessly. Foolish woman. No, foolish mommy now. Don't you see? This is just Dad's trap. Yet even as he grumbled inwardly, his heart swelled with joy and a smile slipped onto his face. Still, this isn't so bad. In no time, Jiujing found herself surrounded by the dazzling luxury of Ji family wealth, her eyes wide with awe. She and Pudding both wore grins like sneaky little foxes, the same thought flashing through their heads. Very good. Inside the mansion, the butler and maids stood in perfect formation. Bowing politely with a gracious smile, the butler said, Missin, I am the Ji household butler. Your room is this way, please follow me. Jiujing and Pudding flopped onto the bed, a giant fluffy mattress that felt as soft as Totoro's belly. They sank into it with pure bliss, almost melting from happiness. The two of them popped back up and shouted, Ao, come join us. At that, Ao's face flushed red. That he had never really felt this kind of motherly warmth before. No, he muttered stubbornly, but his feet betrayed him, shuffling closer. The moment he reached the bedside, Jiujing scooped him up and plopped him onto the bed. Come on, she teased. Don't be like your daddy, always so stiff and serious. It doesn't suit you. Her words slowly softened him. A shy smile spread across Ao's face. Jiujing ruffled his hair with a warm grin. See, that's how kids are supposed to smile. The heartwarming scene didn't escape Ji Jinshin's eyes as he stood by the doorway, watching Jiujing laugh and play with the two children. A faint smile tugged at his lips. Maybe this isn't so bad after all. Just then, Pudding tugged him closer while Ao tilted his head up. Daddy, why aren't you coming in? Pudding chimed in innocently. Yeah, come sleep with mommy. Jiujing's face instantly flushed crimson. Sleep together. What on earth were these two little rascals thinking every day? Meanwhile, out in the hall, the butler was on the phone, his tone laced with delight. Yes, madam. The children are indeed twins. And that woman, she's here too. young master has brought her back. The next morning, Juju and the two kids were still fast asleep in bed. Half awake, she felt exhausted, her body aching faintly. Last night, the two little ones insisted their dad had to sleep with them. Juju refused firmly, no way. But then Pudding tattled, Daddy, Mommy said you're no good. Jikinchin smirked, flexing his hands. She said I'm no good? He closed in step by step, eyes glinting wickedly. Missin, why don't you find out for yourself if I'm good or not? Startled, Juju shrank back in panic, blurting, Wait, no. With a thud, she grabbed a pillow and smacked him. The two scuffled playfully while the kids cheered them on. By midnight, Juju was left with dark circles under her eyes, not even sure where Jikinchin had gone. She finally crashed on the bed, drifting into a deep sleep. In her sleep, she turned over and her hand landed right on Jikinchin's solid abs. Shocked, she jolted awake, thinking a thief had broken in. Jikinchin quickly covered her mouth, whispering, Don't make a sound. The kids are still asleep. Juju thought he had gone back to his own room, but to her shock, Jikinchin was still there. She nodded slightly, her face flushed red. And to be fair, her hand was still resting on his abs. This man's body was pretty damn good. In that instant, her shameless side kicked in and reason went out the window. Jikinchin realized she was feeling him up and suddenly grabbed her hand. With a swift move, he flipped her over, pinning her down. His voice turned cold and commanding, Missin, what exactly are you doing? But before she could respond, the butler suddenly appeared at the door, freezing the air in the room. Pinned beneath him, Juju panicked and blurted, Butler. It's not what you think. Before she could finish, the butler covered his face like a shy maiden and squealed, Oh no, I didn't mean to walk in on this. Juju was stunned. Wait, did you just expose some weird side of yourself? Unexpectedly, the two little ones woke up and started shouting, Go, Daddy, go. Juju snapped furiously, Go where? What on earth are you kids thinking? The outburst cracked everyone up. Even Jikinchin, the so-called cold and domineering Seo, couldn't help but laugh. As he stood, his sculpted 8-pack abs came into view. With a sly smile, he extended his hand to Juju in invitation. Pulling the kids closer, Juju muttered reluctantly, Forget it, I can't be bothered with you. But the moment she rose, her foot landed on a toy ball. Her heel slipped, setting up the classic Seo romance drama scene. She tumbled straight into Jikinchin's arms, ending up pinned beneath him. Stunned, she thought, Wait? This feeling again? And right then, Old Master Ji and Madam Ji stood at the door watching awkwardly. The moment screamed embarrassment. Seriously? A second round. After that, in the main hall, Jikinchin and Juju sat apart while the two boys played with building blocks. So this was meeting the parents? After what had just happened, Juju was so embarrassed she couldn't even lift her head. The hall had been dead silent for 10 minutes and she just wanted to crawl into a hole. At last, Father Ji broke the silence. So, Jikinchin, we heard you found another child, so we came to see. We didn't expect. Before he could finish, Madam Ji's expression darkened. She cut him off coldly, Enough beating around the bush. I don't approve of this woman entering our Ji family. Juju raised her head and spoke slowly but firmly, Excuse me, Auntie, what are you talking about? When did I ever say I wanted to marry into the Ji family? Madam Ji's face hardened. Stop playing hard to get. Even if you gave birth to 2 sons and brought Pudding back, I'll never recognize you. Juju was speechless, grumbling in her head. Is this woman's logic ripped straight from a soap opera? Jikinchin, who had stayed silent until now, finally looked at his parents. With a slight frown, his voice was icy. Then what if I insist on marrying her? Juju's face flushed with anger. She snapped at him. Hey, you say it like that, now it's even harder for me to explain. Madam Ji's attitude remained unyielding. The children can stay, but she has to go. Jikinchin shot back coldly. You don't get to decide that. Madam Ji snapped. I'm your mother. Besides, the woman I arranged 5 years ago wasn't her. She's a fraud. Jikinchin's tone didn't waver. Doesn't matter. She's the mother of my sons. Stuck in the middle, Juju's anger finally erupted. Her fist clenched and she rose to her feet. Enough. You'd better listen to me carefully. She pressed her lips together, then smirked. First, I'm not marrying Jikinchin. What happened earlier was just a misunderstanding. Believe it or don't. Her voice dropped, sharp as a blade. Second, no one is taking pudding from me. Try it and I'll make sure none of you know peace. Faced with her rising aura, Madame G faltered, unable to say a word. And Juju crossed her arms, eyes sharp, her whole posture radiating an untouchable chill. She demanded coldly, "Third, you just mentioned 5 years ago. What do you know? Say it." Madame G hesitated, then shifted her gaze toward Jikinshin. Back then, since Jikinshin had no women around him, his father and I worried he might like men. So we arranged a woman for him. To be safe, we even slipped something into his drink. But the hotel staff delivered him to the wrong room. Later, we worked tirelessly to track down the girl and secretly kept an eye on her. Until that car accident. Madame G suddenly raised her hand and pointed at Butler Wu. It was him. Wu was the one who rushed to the crash site and brought the child back. Butler Wu threw up his hands, sweating profusely. I swear I'm innocent. When I arrived, there was only one child. And Missin, she seemed to have no signs of life. I never knew there was another baby in her womb. And Juju's anger boiled over, her brows tightening into a sharp arc. Seemed to? Couldn't you have confirmed it? Maybe called an ambulance while you were at it. Wu shrank back like a quail, drenched in sweat, stammering apologies. I'm sorry, truly sorry. Crossing her arms and legs, and Juju sat firmly on the sofa, her tone sharp and resolute. Fine. The truth from 5 years ago is clear now. So tell me, Mr. G, what are you going to do about it? Jikinshin leaned back on the sofa, legs crossed, one hand propping up his chin. His voice was detached. I thought when she suddenly showed up with pudding it was about money, or some scheme. But now it's clear, she was the real victim all along. The memory of pressing her to name her price, of scheming to keep pudding in the G family, burned through him. He wanted nothing more than to crawl into a hole. Father G's voice cut in, stern and heavy. We can write Missin a check. Jikinshin rose abruptly, straightening his suit jacket. Dad, not everything can be solved with money. I'll make it right in my own way. The weather's good lately. Why don't you and Mom take a trip abroad? We'll see them out. Neither Father G nor Madame G had expected things to turn out like this. Their faces darkened instantly. Father G's rage exploded. So your wings have hardened, huh? You think you can drive me out? Madame G quickly stopped her husband. Don't make a scene. The company's already in our son's hands. You're just a figurehead. If this blows up, it won't look good for either side. Besides, isn't there still Yao Yao? She's Jikinshin's fiancée. He'll listen to her. Father G let out a cold snort, realizing nothing would be resolved today. Forget him. We're leaving, he growled. The moment Juju heard Jikinshin say he'd compensate her in his own way, her spirits lifted. With a cheeky anti-smile, she asked, Mr. G, what kind of compensation are we talking about? Honestly, you don't need to go that far. Just cancel the money I owe you and we're good. In a flash, Jikinshin slammed his arm against the wall, caging her in. His voice was cold. Absolutely not. Pressed against the sofa corner, and Juju broke into a sweat. What are you trying to do? His eyes narrowed, a sly grin tugging at his lips. That matter I mentioned before, you might want to think it over. And Juju's heart pounded wildly, her cheeks burning. Why are you suddenly this close? Jikinshin let her go, leaving her dazed on the sofa. She muttered under her breath, that matter. Which matter was he talking about? From the side, Eo leaned toward his brother. Do you think a Chinese wedding would be better or a Western one? To his surprise, Pudding replied seriously, I think we'll have a little sister soon. Eo nodded in agreement. Over at the Bai household, Bai Shinrong exploded. What? Break off the engagement? Impossible. You're going after Juju, aren't you? Shinquan, you're still thinking about that bitch. Her fury made Zhao Mei break into a cold sweat. Shinquan finally snapped, his words venomous. If that's what you want to believe, fine. Either way, I'm not marrying her. Zhao Mei furrowed her brows, clutching Shinquan's arm in desperation. Shinquan, our Bai family has treated you well. Can't you forgive Rongrong just this once for the sake of so many years together? Shinquan yanked his arm free, his gaze sharp as a blade. Get this straight, she slept around. She dared to cheat while engaged to me. And you still want to shove her at me? Do you think I'm some kind of trash bin? Bai Xinrong's face twisted in rage, her shame turning into venom. She jabbed a finger at him. And you're any better? 3 minutes every time and I still had to praise you. Why not change your name to Shin Quickshot? Smack. Shin Quan slapped her hard across the face. He felt no guilt. Even as the Bai family glared at him in outrage, he calmly straightened his sleeve, then sneered. This marriage is over. For good. With that he walked out. After he left, Bai Xinrong clutched her burning cheek, crying and cursing, her eyes blazing with hatred. Through her sobs, her voice dripped with malice. If it weren't for Njiju leaking those videos, none of this would have happened. Even if Jikinshin is protecting you, I refuse to believe he'll sit still once he sees that footage. In her room, Njuju's fingers flew across the keyboard, hacking into a company's private files and ledgers. That company had once belonged to her mother, but Bai Yongqiang and Zhao Mei had colluded to steal it, even driving her mother to her death. This was a debt Njuju swore she'd never let slide. She had seen through Bai Yongqiang long ago. The man underpaid workers, and for the tiniest profit he'd pick fights with clients. With someone like him running the company, there was no way the books were clean. And besides, this was her mother's legacy. Bai Yongqiang and Zhao Mei didn't deserve it, nor had any right to keep it. She vowed to take back everything her mother left behind. House, company, every last trace. None of it would be tainted by those two conspirators. As streams of code flashed across the screen, Njuju's lips curled into a cold smile. Meanwhile, Oao and Pudding were playing detective. O had his eyes locked on Njuju. He muttered to himself, at it again, illegally hacking someone's computer. Raising his walkie-talkie, he whispered, Target 1 is still skirting the edge of criminal activity. Report on Target 2, over. In the study, Pudding's eyes sparkled as he ducked under the desk. Into his walkie-talkie, he reported with glee, Target 2 is still working at his desk. Over. Jikinshin rubbed his temples, sighing helplessly. I can hear you just fine. So this is what it's like having 2 kids. It's really this noisy. Pudding bolted out the door, legs pumping, shouting, Report, report. Peanut has been compromised, retreating immediately. Jikinshin was left speechless. Meanwhile, the butler was blocking a long-legged woman. Miss Anyao, the young master ordered no disturbances. The woman mimicked a parrot's voice sweetly, Wu, please, just let me in. It was Anyao, the fiancé arranged for Jikinshin by the Ji family. With her wide doll-like eyes, cherry lips, and orange blonde hair, she looked like a living doll. Holding a lunchbox, she cooed, Look, I made this just for Jikinshin. If it gets cold, it won't taste as good. At that moment, Pudding came barreling out of the study, not looking where he was going. He slammed straight into Anyao's leg, his little face squishing out of shape. Anyao glanced down, mistaking him for Aoyo. Oyo, why are you in such a rush? She asked gently. But Pudding didn't recognize her at all. Panic flashing in his eyes, he grabbed his walkie-talkie. Unidentified creature detected, danger level unknown. Anyao frowned slightly, suspicion flickering across her face. She leaned closer, peering at him. Oh, I'm your Auntie Yao. Don't you remember me? Having never seen her before, Pudding screamed in terror, A monster. Just then Ao appeared, protective as ever. Hey Pudding, come to me. His words instantly gave his little brother a sense of safety. Pudding lit up with joy. Anyao, however, froze. Another one? No, this boy in gray must be the real A. Her mind flashed to the intel she'd received. So Madame Ji had been telling the truth. Jikinshin really did have another son. Twins, in fact. And Yao's expression darkened. So that woman is here too. Let's see what that vixen looks like. With Njuju on her mind, and Yao pushed forward, storming straight toward Jikinshin's room. Meanwhile, Oyo calmed his brother. Detective game's on pause. We've got more important things to do. Pudding nodded quickly. Okay, big brother. But who's that lady barging in? O answered coolly. She's the fiancé Grandpa picked for Dad. Pudding's eyes widened. Fiancé? Then what about Mommy? Yo shot it down right away. Relax. Dad would never go for her. She's the type who gets stuck with an engagement from childhood, only to be ignored by the guy, so she resorts to cheap tricks and keeps getting slapped down. Classic tragic second female lead. No way Dad's marrying someone like that. A sharp set of footsteps echoed closer. Jikinshin's voice rang out, laced with displeasure. Wu, didn't I say no one was to disturb me? What is going on? Butler Wu answered helplessly. Missin insisted on coming in. I couldn't stop her. And Yao's face lit up with a sweet smile. Jinkinshin, don't blame Wu. It's me, I missed you too much. Outwardly she cooed. Look, I even made your favorite lotus seed soup. Inwardly though she sneered. I'm the one the Ji family acknowledges as his fiancé. That other woman? She's not worthy. As for this so-called arranged fiancé, Jinkinshin had zero interest. His expression was cold, arms folded, and he said nothing. And Yao eagerly offered the soup to him. Without even glancing at her, Jinkinshin turned away. Give it to Wu. He headed upstairs immediately, not sparing her a look. The air grew awkward. Forcing a smile, and Yao muttered to herself, honestly, once he's busy he ignores everything, so cold to me. Wu, however, thought silently, no. He just doesn't want to see you at all. Refusing to give up, and Yao marched straight into the kitchen. Then I'll cook something myself just to cheer him up. Wu called after her, Missin, the door is that way, while sighing inwardly, don't make life harder for an old man. And Yao sneered to herself, I haven't even seen that vixen's face yet and you already want me gone? No way. After over an hour in her room, and Juju had already collected plenty of evidence against the Bai family's crimes. She had endured humiliation for far too long. Her revenge would not come in one strike. It would be slow, methodical, dragging them into the mud until they tasted ruin and despair. Only then would her fury ease. Only then could she answer for her mother's wrongful death. Wrapping up, she realized it was already late and her stomach had begun growling. She stepped out looking for the two little ones. The moment she saw the dining table full of dishes, her eyes sparkled like stars. Wow, what's the occasion? Why is there so much good food today? Just then, Yao walked out carrying a pot of soup. Both women froze in surprise. And Juju was about to ask, and you are? When Oh suddenly called out, Mommy. And Juju bent down to wipe the sweat off her son, while Yao sneered inwardly. That's it? I thought she'd be stunning, but turns out she's just got a slightly bigger chest than me. Oh glared at Yao with disgust. He remembered clearly, this woman had bullied him before when Dad wasn't around. And Juju gently coaxed him. What's wrong? Why so quiet? Was your detective game with putting fun this afternoon? Inside, Yao swore. Mommy's too naive. I won't let Yao hurt her. And Yao's gaze locked on Juju, sharp and hostile. With the air of a mistress of the house, she declared, so you're the woman Jinkinshin brought back. Let me tell you I'm his. Before she could finish, Juju calmly cut her off. The new cook. At those words, Yao's face darkened, her mood souring instantly. Meanwhile, Juju calmly remarked, the flavor's not bad, but some of these dishes should be firmer. If kids eat too soft, it's bad for their teeth. She then crouched down to Aoi. Go call your brother Pudding to join us for dinner. The line, said so casually, slapped Yao's pride right across the face. Reo, however, had already plotted it out. Pudding was hidden away. If he didn't call him, his brother wouldn't show. All he needed to do was protect Mommy until Dad appeared. And Yao's composure finally snapped. Not only does she treat me like a servant, she dares to eat the food I made for Jinkinshin, and ignores me completely like I'm nothing. Her muttered words weren't clear, but Juju asked lightly, what was that you just said? And Yao's teeth ground together. With a surge of rage, she erupted, screaming, I'm the mistress of this house, and flung the steaming hot soup straight at Juju. Realizing the danger with Oyo still by her side, Juju reacted instantly. She grabbed her son, shielding him with her body. The thin summer nightdress clung to her back as the scalding liquid seared her skin. Pain made her draw a sharp breath, but she stood her ground. Mommy! Oyo cried in panic. Clang! The pot clattered to the floor. And Yao's face drained, then flushed, shifting between blue and white. Jinkinshin? She stammered. Jinkinshin had just come downstairs and caught everything. His eyes turned icy, his voice slow and cutting. What did you just do? And Yao still tried to weasel her way out. It was just an accident, I slipped. I'd never hurt Oh, I adore him. Jinkinshin's face only grew darker while she kept fumbling with excuses. He crouched down, carefully helping Juju up. Are you all right? How do you feel? She trembled but forced a smile through the pain. I'm fine. Lucky it wasn't boiling. But she just claimed she's the mistress here. What's going on? Who is she? Jikinchin's gaze turned icy. Her name is In Yao. She's the daughter of An Jingwa, head of An Group. Because of business ties, my parents once tried to arrange a marriage. I rejected it. Realization flickered across An Juju's face. Oh, so this so-called mistress is just self-proclaimed? Then what if I call myself a queen? Do I get to dump soup all over you too? Her smile sharpened, voice dripping with sarcasm. But that'd be letting you off too easy. You weren't just after me, you aimed at Aoyao as well. Maybe tossing you into the pot and letting you simmer would be more fitting. What do you think? And Yao froze under the sudden surge of pressure. The woman who'd seemed silly and harmless moments ago now radiated razor-sharp dominance, terrifying in her change. Yet deep down, And Yao sneered to herself. Without Jikinchin backing her, she's nothing but a pretender. Inside, And Yao felt smug. As long as my father stands behind me, Jikinchin won't dare touch me. Even a tiger wouldn't. And you cheap little vixen? If I don't acknowledge you, what can you possibly do to me? Out loud, she feigned weakness. It was an accident, I swear. I'd never hurt Oh. I like him so much. Yo suddenly exploded, his tiny fists clenched, eyes blazing with fury. Enough. Stop pretending. You used to pinch my arm when no one was looking, you called me a bastard, and now you want to bully my mommy too. He jabbed his finger at An Yao, refusing to let her talk her way out. The only reason I stayed quiet was because you're the fiancé Grandpa chose for Dad. I didn't want to embarrass him. You really think I'm scared of you? And Yao forced a pitiful look, gazing at Jikinchin. Maybe my nails were too long, maybe I scratched him by accident. Jikinchin, you believe me, don't you? Jikinchin's stare cut through her like ice. And Yao, seeing you today taught me something. Shamelessness can actually be spoken with pride. His voice dropped, every word sharp as a blade. Out of respect for your father, I'll let you walk out on your own this time. But if there's a next time, I won't be so kind. Now, get out. From the moment Aoyao spoke up, And Yao knew she was doomed. Being publicly condemned by Jikinchin made cold sweat run down her back. She spun around and ran off in tears. Aoyao's big round eyes fixed on An Juju. He slipped his little hand around her pinky and whispered, Mommy, let me see your back. As a mother, An Juju would never let her children worry. She straightened her back with a smile. Your mommy's tough. Nothing happened at all. But the moment the words left her lips, pain throbbed across her back. Both Jikinchin and Aoyao rushed to her side. Dad, hurry, get burn medicine. Aoyao cried anxiously. Soon after, a maid applied ointment to An Juju's injuries. For better absorption, the maid advised, it's best if you don't wear clothes for now. Her back was marked with patches of burns. Pudding's big eyes filled with tears at the sight of his mother's scars, while Aoyao stood behind, crushed with guilt. Bro, and Juju called softly, what are you doing over there? She reached out and stroked his head gently. His wide eyes brimmed with self-blame. It's my fault. I couldn't protect you. And Juju chuckled warmly. Silly boy, you did great today. You protected Pudding. Then she extended her hand, stacking theirs together. Here's how it works in our family. You protect your brother and I protect both of you. Pudding blinked his big eyes and asked, then, who will protect Mommy? At that moment, Jikinchin's tall figure stepped forward. His gaze softened, a faint smile tugging at his lips. Placing a hand over his chest, he spoke solemnly, Missin, will you give me that chance? And Juju froze, stunned by his words. Jikinchin's eyes darkened, his voice low and resolute. From now on, I'll be the one to protect you. Hearing that, and Juju's expression tightened. She forced a wry smile. Everyone can spout sweet words. They don't cost a thing. Inwardly she thought, who do I have to thank for this mess? You offering to protect me? I'd be dead 800 times over waiting on that. The moment cleared her head. And Yao's stunt had reminded her of the truth. No matter how comfortable life at the Ji household seemed, she was still living under someone else's roof. Everything revolved around Jikinchin. A curious idea popped into her mind. 700 million sounded astronomical. But if Jikinchin wanted her to stay, wouldn't that mean he'd shoulder the debt? Basically, let the sheep pay for the wool. She hooked a finger, smiling with a casual, almost flirtatious ease. Jikinchin, come here. Pudding paled beside her, thinking to himself, Mommy's smile. Could it be? Jinkinshin stepped to the bedside and sat, his tone gentle. Are you okay? Where does it hurt? Pudding watched anxiously, imagining, is mommy about to play the beauty trap? And Juju asked softly, you just said you'd protect me. Is that true? Jinkinshin met her gaze, steady as steel. I don't lie. If I say I'll protect you, I won't break my word. Little Pudding showed surprising maturity, shoving his brother Aoyo toward the door. Kids shouldn't be watching this, he muttered seriously. And Juju leaned forward, almost brushing against Jikinshin, her tone soft and honeyed. Thank you, Jikinshin. There's something I'd like to ask. You must have Yao's contact info, right? I'm injured now, can't work, and I still have children to raise. Could you reach out to her for me? Maybe ask for compensation? Inside she sneered. Knowing Jinkinshin's personality, there's no way he'll call in Yao. He'll definitely. Sure enough, Jikinshin's voice was cold but firm. Forget contacting her. I don't want any ties with her again. As for compensation, you got hurt partly because of me. I'll pay it. Joy surged in Juju's chest, though her face remained composed. Yes, this is the moment I've been waiting for. She pressed harder, her heart racing. Is this really happening? Now I just need to push him past his reason. With teary eyes and a trembling smile, she whispered, Mr. G, you're so kind. Whatever game she was playing, it was working. Jikinshin's composure cracked, a faint blush creeping across his face. He even lifted a hand, awkwardly trying to cover himself, the proud man clearly flustered. Then Juju unveiled her ultimate move. She stood, her pale figure revealed in full, catching every bit of his gaze. Her foot snagged on the white cloth that had been covering her body. Ah! She stumbled, tumbling straight into Jikinshin's arms. Her eyes shimmered with tears, voice fragile yet sweet. Sorry, my leg went numb. Are you all right? Her soft curves pressed against Jikinshin's chest as Juju purred. Let me catch my breath. All right, let's continue. About that compensation. The burn ointment was yours, but the pain is mine, and it hurts you to see it, doesn't it? With your net worth, 10 million should be fair. Jikinshin wasn't listening. His face was so red it looked ready to boil an egg. His gaze deepened, realizing for the first time how intoxicating her scent was. And Juju knew exactly how men worked, pressing harder. Jikinshin, I was frightened too. My boys were worried sick. Shouldn't we add emotional damages? His mind blanked. Fine, he blurted, his body betraying him as her fingertips trailed over his chest and throat, forcing him to swallow hard. So, 30 million in total, agreed? Just deduct it from what I owe you. That leaves 700,137,000. Jikinshin's face was crimson, his voice hoarse. All right, but your leg, is it better? We shouldn't be like this. Not yet, still numb. Inside she smirked. Don't rush, big boss. I haven't finished fleecing you. With a straight face she added, actually I'm pretty good with computers. Your company's huge. Why not hire me? I won't ask for much. Just 50 million a year, okay? In that moment, Jikinshin simply couldn't focus. His face flushed and his gaze jittery. He stammered, I'll consider it. I just remembered I have work, so... Seeing victory within reach, and Juju wasn't about to let him slip away. She pretended to be lightly shoved and tumbled toward him in a coquettish act. Grabbing his jacket, she fell with a soft thud, the two of them collapsing onto the bed together. They were only inches apart, close enough that a kiss felt like the inevitable next beat, the air thick with tension. Tearful but playful, she murmured, Mr. G, I get it. If you don't want me at your company, just say so. No need to push me. My back still hurts. It really hurts. He looked briefly apologetic, forcing calm. Sorry, I didn't mean to. I just... Straightening his jacket, he spoke with quiet resolution. I'll notify HR right away. Come start next Monday. Inside, Juju gloated. My beauty trap is flawless. Mr. G, you'll be mine before long. Jikinshin stepped out stiffly, still visibly unsettled, as if whatever heat had flared inside hadn't yet cooled. At that moment, the phone on the bedside table began to ring. Juju picked it up. Hello? Who is this? She asked politely. A shocked, excited voice answered, Oh my god, Juju, are you actually alive? It's Wang Yuro. We grew up together. Don't you remember me? Juju replied lightly, Of course I remember. I only had a car accident, not amnesia. But inside, her thoughts turned sharp. Back then, you and Bai Xinrong were inseparable. Even the idea of drugging me, that was yours. How could she ever forget a best friend like that? Especially when that long overdue slap had yet to land across Wang Yuro's face. On the other end, Wang Yuro chirped, "To celebrate your return, I'm throwing a party. Tomorrow at Sijinyuan, don't be late." And Jushu smiled and agreed. After hanging up, Wang Yuro glanced at Bai Xinrong slouched on the sofa. "Rong, the appointment's set," she sneered. Bai Xinrong's face was still swollen, her voice muffled. "Thank you, Yuro. You're the only one I can rely on now." She picked up a small box and handed it over. Inside lay her most treasured necklace. To get revenge, Bai Xinrong was ready to sacrifice anything. Her teeth clenched as she swore. No matter what, she would never let Juju go. This time she had to die. Wang Yuro's lips curled into a cold smile. "On my turf, even if she lives, I'll strip her down to the bone." Meanwhile, Juju checked the text on her phone, a mocking smile tugging at her lips. "So that's why it has to be at Sijinyuan." Turns out, Sijinyuan had just built a brand new racecourse. Juju was no longer the girl she used to be. She sneered inwardly. "Wang Yuro still thinks I'm that fragile crybaby, the spoiled little weakling who couldn't even run a lap?" Putting her phone aside, she sighed with relief. Luckily, Ji Jinshin was helping watch the kids. With Beauty not around, the house finally felt quiet, and she thought of sneaking in some beauty sleep. Just then her phone buzzed again. It was a photo from Ji Jinshin, Beauty perched on his head, flashing a playful peace sign. Juju laughed so hard her face crinkled up. Meanwhile, Ji Jinshin was clearly losing sleep as the two kids climbed all over him. So she quickly suggested a solution: bedtime stories. Ji Jinshin cleared his throat. "Beauty, lie down. Daddy's going to tell you a story." The two kids went quiet at once. Beauty, eyes wide and sparkling, asked, "Is it like the ones Mommy tells?" Ji Jinshin raised a finger and began calmly. "A long time ago there was a queen. She wished for her child to have skin as white as snow." Beauty jumped in right away. "I know this one. Mommy told me already." Later, the queen passed away. The king remarried, and the new wife became the princess's stepmother. But she was cruel and tried to harm the princess. The princess ran for her life and met a prince along the way. Beauty leaned forward, dead serious. And then the princess used the prince's power to take back her throne, kicking out the wicked stepmother and that heartless king. Ji Jinshin was left speechless when he heard the phrase, "using the prince's power." But Hyo perked up, asking, "Then what happened?" Beauty answered seriously, "Of course the princess didn't end up with the prince. She seized the throne herself and became queen. As for the prince, he didn't matter anymore." Ji Jinshin frowned. "Didn't matter?" Beauty shot back confidently, "Mommy says once men have power they just take 3 or 4 wives. Women can be the same. Once you find someone new who remembers the old love. Love is just a fairy tale to fool kids. A chicken leg is way more reliable." Ji Jinshin nearly choked. This kid knows way too much for his age. Just then a loud knock came at the door. Ji Jinshin stepped out to see Butler Wu kneeling on the ground. Tears streamed down his face as he wailed, "It's my broken maiden's heart. I only came to bring you a glass of milk, young master, but then I heard this. How can the prince and princess not end up together? My fairy tale romance, it's shattered." He sobbed uncontrollably. Afterwards, Wu looked utterly soulless, like all hope had drained from him. Juju glanced at him in confusion and asked, "What on earth happened to you?" Beauty muttered on the side, "Mommy, it's because of the story I told yesterday, Snow White." Juju frowned in confusion. "What about that story?" Butler Wu clutched his chest as if his maiden's heart had shattered again. "Missin, aren't the princess and the prince supposed to end up together? Isn't that because of love?" Juju shook her head coolly. "Of course not. A princess and prince being together is usually a political deal between kingdoms. The odds of so-called love at first sight are practically zero." Her gaze darkened. "People are far too complicated. Who could possibly decide on someone the moment they meet?" Just then a deep voice cut her off. Ji Jinshin walked in with a cup of coffee. "I don't agree. Practically zero doesn't mean zero. Even if it's just a fraction of a chance, it still exists. And maybe she's standing right in front of me." The moment those words left his mouth, and Juju's face flushed crimson as if struck by Cupid's arrow. She froze, then snapped back with mock arrogance, "Think whatever you want." Her cheeks, however, burned even redder. Only then did she realize Ji Jinshin had just turned the tables and flirted back. And he learned it fast. And Juju's face was so red she couldn't bear to stay. She jumped to her feet and hurried out of the room. Inwardly, and Juju scoffed. Men's words, full of lies. Time to slip away. Jikinshin, as if seeing through her, wore a knowing smile. "Looks like I've won this round. I never lie." Butler Wu and the boys watched the scene like it was the juiciest gossip. In their childish way they declared, "Love comes in like a tornado. Who needs fairy tales? This is the real thing." Elsewhere at the newly built racetrack, Wang Yuro grinned into the phone. "Don't worry. I know exactly what kind of person Juju is. Total sports klutz." She chuckled maliciously. "She'll never expect horseback riding today. I've specially prepared an outfit for her. Once she starts riding, the costume will tear to shreds and she'll make a total fool of herself. Even better, I've picked the most violent horse. She'll fall and be left badly hurt at best." Meanwhile, Bai Xinrong waited outside the G building. He sneered into the receiver. "Euro, relax. If this goes off, you'll profit handsomely. I don't believe Jikinshin will want a cripple afterward." She casually produced something from her bag, whispering, "Besides, I've got this in my hand." At the racetrack, Wang Yuro greeted her with a smile. "Juju, you're here." But the moment she laid eyes on her, she froze. And Juju radiated queenly confidence in a deep blue equestrian tailcoat, draped with a gray riding cloak, sharp, clean, commanding. By contrast, Wang Yuro's wrinkled blouse and plain black vest looked utterly ordinary. Her aura collapsed on the spot. Juju spoke coolly. "A quick news search would have told me this racetrack just opened." Her tone darkened. "And knowing you, Yuro, whatever you planned here wouldn't be normal fun. Better to come prepared, don't you think?" Yuro's face stiffened. Every word landed like a slap. She quickly donned her sweet act, handing over clothes she had prepared. "Honestly, what you're wearing is outdated. I brought you the latest style. Why don't you try it on?" Juju accepted the outfit. Of course, she knew exactly what kind of trick was hiding behind it. Unfolding the garment, she smiled faintly. The fabric's translucent, the cut, simple. In truth, it was cheap stallwear, ugly, tacky beneath her. Still, she thought this style fits Wang Yuro perfectly. As for herself, she handed it back, deliberately straightening to show off her curves. With a sly smile, she said, "Yes, this really does suit you better. And hey, it's even loose-fitting." Yuro flinched, glancing down at her own flat figure. Yet inside, her thoughts twisted darker. "Enjoy your little victory in Juju. You'll be crying soon enough." A stable hand led over a striking white stallion. With a sweet smile, Wang Yuro gestured. "It's your first time here, right? This one's the gentlest horse. I suggest you ride it." In truth, the animal had already been set up, so wild even trainers couldn't break it. Inside, she sneered, "And Juju, I can't wait to see you hit the dirt." Juju brushed her hand along its coat. The stallion snapped away from her touch. She smirked faintly. "Gentlest horse, huh?" Her mind was sharper. "This beast is fierce. And you thought I wouldn't notice your petty scheme?" From behind, Yuro pressed impatiently. "Hurry up, get on." Juju placed her boot cleanly in the stirrup and swung up in one fluid motion. Anyone could tell from that move, she trained like a pro. Yuro froze. She mounted it herself? Impossible. During those vanished 5 years, Juju hadn't just been raising children. She'd been mastering every sport she once failed at. She knew she had been a physical weakling, so she forced herself to train 100 times harder than others, until she became someone unbreakable. A mother's strength burned within her. To wear the crown, one must bear its weight. To everyone's surprise, the white stallion stayed calm under Juju's seat, gentle, obedient, almost enjoying her touch. The staff member's face went pale with shock. That stallion, even the trainers couldn't handle it, yet under Juju it obeyed. Beside him, Wang Yuro quickly jabbed him with her elbow, signaling him to shut up. But Juju had already heard. Her eyes darkened. "So this is what you call beginner-friendly?" Yuro opened her mouth to explain. Juju's lips curved slyly. "You're right. I'm just a beginner. I can't possibly control this horse." With a sharp nudge, the stallion lunged forward straight at Yuro, who shrieked and scrambled out of the way. The outcome was obvious. Wang Yuro ended up humiliated, thoroughly schooled by Jeju. Meanwhile, inside the G Corporation offices, a bodyguard reported, "Sir, a Miss Bai requests to see you. She claims to have information about Miss and Jeju." Ji Jinshin frowned. Miss Bai? Her younger sister? And what kind of information would that be? He ordered curtly, "Let her in." Bai Xinrong entered, her face glowing with infatuation. Seeing Jinshin at work, she looked ready to worship him. Jinshin's voice was cold. "I'm busy. Speak your piece." Bai Xinrong looked smug, blurting out, "This is a long story." Jinshin cut her off coldly. "Keep it short." His frown deepened. "And step back. That perfume stinks." He gave her no face at all. Xinrong stiffened. What kind of man doesn't fall for this? What kind of spell has Jeju cast on him? She yanked out a USB drive, smirking. "Fine. I bet you'll look at this. It shows Jeju's true face. 5 years ago she was already that shameless. Imagine now. I'm only warning you, Mr. G, before some woman plays you for a fool and crowns you with a green hat." Her tone dripped with arrogance. The next instant, Jinshin's voice turned icy. "Security. Get her out." Guards rushed in and shoved Xinrong out without hesitation. Silence returned to the office. Jinshin leaned back, thoughts drifting to 5 years ago. That night, every detail was still etched in his mind. He stared at the video for a long time without speaking. Then, with a sharp motion, he slammed the laptop shut. He never imagined someone would have kept evidence of that night. Frowning, guilt pressed on his chest. It's time to go home and make things right with Jeju.